This testimony was sent to us by a woman who experienced a near-death encounter. During her experience, she was shown 4 significant events that will occur this month. She was sent back to deliver a warning, urging everyone to pay close attention to these upcoming events. Before we continue, please let me know where you're listening from. It would be nice to feel closer, even if we're physically apart. Also, don't forget to like. It will help this video to reach so many people who need to listen to this testimony, and leave a comment. Share your thoughts about this near-death experience testimony. Let's have a fair and open discussion so we can learn from each other here on this channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more of this content coming your way. Enjoy listening. My name is Clara Bennett. I never believed in visions or prophecies until that strange afternoon in April 2nd, when everything changed. I was at the weekend flower market downtown, the one I visited nearly every Saturday. The weather had been acting strange all morning, the sky a peculiar shade of green-gray that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I remember checking my weather app repeatedly. No storms were forecasted, yet the air felt electric, charged with something I couldn't explain. The flower vendors seemed nervous too, glancing up at the darkening sky as they wrapped bouquets in brown paper. "Strange day, isn't it?" Miss Holden said as she handed me my usual bundle of sunflowers. Her eyes crinkled with concern above her mask. "Maybe you should head home, dear. Doesn't feel right." I should have listened. But the lilies at the next stall caught my eye, pure white with delicate yellow centers. My mother's favorite. Her birthday was coming up next week. That's when it happened. A sound like the world splitting open. A flash so bright it turned everything white. I didn't even have time to scream before the lightning struck. Right through me. People told me later that I'd been standing in an open area, clutching those white lilies, that I'd lit up like a Christmas tree for a split second before crumpling the ground, that the lilies weren't even singed. But I didn't know any of that then. All I knew was pain, blinding, consuming pain. And then suddenly, nothing at all. The nothing didn't last long. I became aware of myself again, but differently, lighter, clearer. I was floating above my own body, watching as people crowded around me on the ground. Someone was performing CPR. Someone else was on the phone, presumably calling 911. Mrs. Holden was crying. "I'm right here," I tried to tell them, but no sound came out. Or rather, no one heard me. I looked down at myself, not my body on the ground, but whatever form I was in now. I seemed to be made of light, translucent and glowing faintly blue. When I moved my hands, trails of light followed like echoes. Then I felt it, a gentle but insistent pull upward. Above me, a tunnel had opened in the air, swirling with golden light. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. I didn't want to go. I wasn't ready, but the pull grew stronger, and I found myself rising toward it. As I entered the tunnel, time seemed to stretch and compress simultaneously. I saw flashes of my life, not just the big moments but tiny, seemingly insignificant ones too. The time I helped an elderly man find his glasses in the park. The morning I spent teaching my niece how to bake cookies. The night I sat with my college roommate as she cried over her father's cancer diagnosis. Each memory was infused with a new understanding. I saw how these moments had rippled outward, affecting others in ways I'd never realized. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was without meaning. The tunnel seemed endless, yet somehow I knew I was nearing its end. The light grew brighter, warmer, and then suddenly, I was somewhere else entirely. The first thing I noticed was the absence of time. That sounds strange. I know. How do you notice the absence of something? But it was palpable, like a weight had been lifted that I hadn't known I was carrying. I stood in a vast open space that seemed both infinite and intimate. The light here didn't come from any particular source. It simply was. It illuminated everything perfectly without casting shadows. And then he was there. I knew him immediately, though he looked nothing like the paintings or movies. His presence was overwhelming, pure love and authority radiating from him in waves. I should have been terrified, but instead I felt completely known and completely loved, perhaps for the first time in my life. "Clara," he said, and my name in his mouth sounded like music. I fell to my knees. I couldn't help it. "Lord," I whispered. "Stand up, my child," he said. his voice gentle but firm. "We have much to discuss, and little time." I stood on shaky legs. "Am I dead?" I asked. He smiled, and it was like seeing the sun rise for the first time. "No, Clara, your time has not yet come. You are here because I have chosen you to be a messenger." "Me? But I'm nobody special. I'm just you are exactly who I have chosen," he interrupted, but kindly. "What appears small to the world is often mighty in my sight. You have a compassionate heart and honest tongue. You notice what others miss. These are the qualities I need now." I could only nod, overwhelmed by his confidence in me. "What I am about to show you," he continued, "will be difficult to bear, but the world must be warned. The time is short." Jesus extended his hand and a scroll appeared, glowing with the same golden light as the tunnel. It unfurled itself, floating in the air between us. The writing on it shifted and moved, as if alive. "May 2025, he said. 4 events will come to pass. 4 warnings, 4 opportunities for humanity to remember who they are and to whom they belong." I stared at the scroll, watching as images formed and dissolved within it. "The first will be a sign," he said. "The second, a consequence. The third, a deception. The fourth, a beginning." The scroll expanded, filling my vision until I was surrounded by its contents, immersed in moving scenes of what was to come. "Watch carefully," Jesus told me, "for you must remember everything." The scene unfolded around me like I was standing in the middle of. I saw Europe, recognizable from above, as if I was seeing it from space. Then my perspective zoomed in, and I was standing in what appeared to be Paris. The Eiffel Tower loomed in the distance. It was evening. People were going about their business, when suddenly the sky began to change. What started as a normal sunset transformed into something extraordinary. The entire sky turned blood red, not just at the horizon, but from zenith to horizon, a deep crimson that bathed everything in its eerie glow. People stopped in their tracks. Traffic halted. Everyone was looking upward, phones raised to capture the phenomenon. "The first event will be the red sky," Jesus explained, his voice somehow both beside me and within me. "It will begin over Europe and spread westward, following the. For 3 days the sky will burn red from dusk till dawn." I watched as panic set in. Some people ran for shelter. Others fell to their knees in prayer. News broadcasts interrupted regular programming worldwide. "Scientists will offer explanations," Jesus continued. "Atmospheric phenomena, light refraction, dust particles. They will be partially correct, but they will miss the truth. This is my first sign, a reminder that I control the heavens and the earth." I saw people arguing, some claiming it was climate change, others insisting it was supernatural. Churches filled to overflowing, mosques and temples too. "Many will awaken during these 3 days," Jesus said. "They will feel my presence and remember that there is more to existence than what they can see and touch. Others will harden their hearts further, clinging to explanations that exclude me." I watched as the red light penetrated everywhere, impossible to escape. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "The red sky is a mercy," Jesus said softly. "A gentle beginning, a chance to remember before the harder lessons come." The scene shifted. Now I was in Venice, its canals and historic buildings unmistakable. 2 weeks after the red sky fades, Jesus said, "The second event will occur." I watched in horror as the ground beneath Venice began to tremble. Not a violent earthquake, but something slower, more inexorable. Buildings began to crack. Water from the canal seeped into new fissures in the streets. People ran in panic. Over the course of a single day, I watched as the ancient city began to sink beneath the waves. Historic structures that had stood for centuries collapsed as their foundations gave way. The water rose, or perhaps the land sank. It was hard to tell which. "Venice has been slowly sinking for generations," Jesus explained. "But what happens in May 2025 will not be natural. The city's foundations were compromised long ago by greed and corruption. Corners cut, inspections falsified, warnings ignored. I saw flashes of the past, officials accepting bribes, engineers raising concerns that were dismissed, renovation projects that addressed only surface beauty while deeper problems festered. The physical mirrors the spiritual, Jesus said. Venice will sink because its foundations were built on deception. This is a lesson for all who build their lives, their businesses, their nations on dishonesty and expediency rather than truth and righteousness. I watched as rescue operations struggled to save people trapped in collapsing buildings. The world watched in shock as a UNESCO World Heritage Site disappeared beneath the waters of the lagoon. Priceless art and architecture, gone in hours. Some will survive, Jesus said, answering my unspoken question. Those who heed the early warnings, but much will be lost that can never be recovered. I felt tears streaming down my face. Couldn't this be prevented? If people know in advance, that is why you are here, Jesus said gently. To warn them. But understand, even with warning, many will not listen. They will dismiss you as they have dismissed all my prophets. Yet some will hear, some will act, and that is enough. The scene changed again. This time I saw a man addressing an enormous crowd in what looked like a stadium. He was handsome, charismatic, speaking with passion and conviction. The crowd hung on his every word. 1 week after Venice sinks, Jesus said, he will step onto the world stage. The man in my vision spoke of unity, of peace, of a new spiritual awakening for humanity. He performed what appeared to be miracles, healing the sick, revealing knowledge he couldn't possibly have known, even seeming to manipulate the elements. He will call himself a teacher, an enlightened one. Jesus continued, he will speak about me, about Buddha, about Muhammad, about all religious figures as if we are one and the same. He will say that all paths lead to the same truth. I watched as this figure gained followers by the millions. World leaders sought his counsel. His books topped bestseller lists worldwide. His teachings became a global movement virtually overnight. He will speak much truth, mixed with subtle lies. Jesus explained, that is the most dangerous deception, that which closely resembles truth, but subtly distorts it. The vision showed me crowds weeping with joy at this man's appearances, believing themselves spiritually transformed. Famous people endorsed him. Religious leaders from various faiths stood alongside him on stages worldwide. A new interfaith movement coalesced around his teaching. Many of my own followers will be deceived, Jesus said, his voice heavy with sorrow. They will embrace him because he speaks of love and unity, things I indeed taught, but he will deny my uniqueness. He will deny that I am the only way to the Father. He will deny the need for repentance and the reality of judgment. I saw religious communities splitting over whether to accept this figure. Churches divided. Families argued, this false light will shine brightly but briefly. Jesus, those with discerning spirits will recognize the deception. They will remember my warnings about false prophets who come in sheep's clothing. The scene changed one final time. Now I saw small gatherings of people in homes, in small churches, in office buildings after hours, in parks and community centers. They were ordinary-looking folks of all ages and backgrounds. As the false light rises, Jesus said, so too will my remnant. I watched as these small groups prayed together with unusual intensity. They studied scripture deeply. They cared for each other and for their communities in practical ways, feeding the hungry, visiting the sick, comforting the distressed. These are my faithful ones, Jesus explained. They will not be fooled by the false light. They will maintain sound doctrine while demonstrating genuine love. They will speak truth with grace. The vision expanded, showing me how these small groups began connecting with each other across denominational lines, across geographical boundaries, not forming a new organization or institution, but a network of relationships built on shared commitment to Jesus and his unadulterated teaching. The remnant will rise quietly at first, Jesus said. They will be mocked, dismissed as fundamentalists, accused of intolerance. But as events unfold and my words prove true, more will listen, more will join them. I saw these groups growing, their influence spreading organically. They performed no stadium spectacles, but their impact was profound. Lives were transformed, communities changed. A different kind of awakening, less flashy but more genuine, began to spread. This fourth event is not a calamity but a restoration, Jesus said. A return to first love, a remembrance of what it truly means to follow me. I watched as this movement spread across nations, transcending cultural and political divisions, bringing together people who might otherwise have nothing in common except their devotion to Jesus Christ. This remnant will be the foundation of what comes next, Jesus said. After the time of trial that approaches the world, the scroll rolled itself closed, and I found myself standing before Jesus again. My mind reeled from everything I had witnessed. You must return now, he said gently. Your body is being revived. I felt a pull back toward the tunnel of light, but I resisted. Lord, why me? I'm not special. I'm not a pastor or a theologian. No one will believe me. That is precisely why I chose you, Jesus replied. The wise and learned are often too attached to their own understanding. The powerful have too much to lose. You, Clara, have a simple faith and an honest heart. You will speak what you have seen without embellishment or agenda. But they'll think I'm crazy, I protest. They'll say I had a hallucination from the lightning strike. Jesus smiled. Some will, but others will recognize truth when they hear it. Do not concern yourself with convincing everyone. Simply bear witness to what you have seen and heard. I nodded, though my heart was racing with fear at the task ahead. Remember, Jesus said, placing his hand on my shoulder. His touch was like fire and comfort all at once. You will not be alone. My Spirit will give you words when you need them, and you will find others part of the remnant who will stand with you. When should I speak? I asked. Begin immediately, but know that few will heed your warning until the red sky appears. After that, more will listen. Share your testimony widely. Do not hide it under a bush. I felt tears on my cheeks. Will it be enough? Will people change in time? Jesus looked at me with infinite compassion. Some will, others won't. Each soul must choose, but even one heart turned toward me is worth all your efforts. The pull toward the tunnel grew strong. I knew my time was ending. One last thing, Jesus said. Do not fear what is coming. Remember that I hold all things in my hands, even the difficult days ahead. These events are not the end, but a beginning, a cleansing, a preparation. With those words echoing in my mind, I felt myself being drawn rapidly back through the tunnel of light. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The doctors called it a miracle. They said the lightning had stopped my heart for almost 4 minutes before paramedics revived me. By all medical understanding, I should have suffered brain damage from oxygen deprivation. Instead, I woke up completely lucid, with just some minor burns where the lightning had entered and exited my body. The doctors attributed my survival to quick medical intervention and luck. My family called it divine intervention, though they didn't know how right they were. At first, I told no one about my experience except my sister, who had always been my confidant. She listened without interrupting, as I described everything. The tunnel, meeting Jesus, the 4 events to come. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Do you think I'm crazy? I finally asked. No, she said slowly. I believe you believe it. But Clara, you have to understand how this sounds to someone who didn't experience it. She was right, of course. Over the following weeks, I carefully shared my story with a few others. My pastor, a close friend who had always been spiritually sensitive, a cousin who had her own near-death experience years before. Their reactions varied from cautious belief to gentle skepticism, but no one outright dismissed me. That gave me courage. 2 months passed. The lightning burns healed, leaving strange fern-like scars down my right arm and leg. Lichtenberg figures. The doctors called. I returned to work at the library, resumed my normal routines, but everything had changed. I saw the world differently now. Every sunset made me think of the red sky to come. Every news report about Venice's ongoing struggle with rising waters made my heart race. I found myself studying strangers' faces, wondering who among them might be part of the remnant that would rise. I started a blog where I shared my experience in detail. It gained little attention at first, just another strange corner of the internet. I accepted speaking invitations from small churches brave enough to host me. I recorded videos telling my story and posted them online. Most were met with ridicule or indifference, but occasionally someone would reach out privately to say my words had resonated with them. Now it's late April. According to my vision, the red sky will appear any day now. I've done everything I can to spread the warning. I've faced mockery, lost friends, been labeled a religious fanatic by some and mentally unstable by others, but I know what I saw, I know whom I met. If you're reading this after the red sky has appeared, know that the other events will follow as I've described. Venice's fate is sealed, but individuals can still be saved if they heed the warnings and evacuate in time. The false light will be compelling, charismatic, seemingly miraculous, but test everything against Scripture and do not be deceived by his signs and wonders. Most importantly, look for the remnant. They won't be on television or headlining conference. They'll be ordinary people committed to extraordinary faith, living out the teachings of Jesus without compromise or showmanship. Find them, join them, be part of what God is doing in these crucial days. I don't know what lies beyond the 4 events I was shown. I don't know if there will be more signs or how long we have before greater tribulations come. All I know is what I was told to share. The hour is late, the signs are beginning, but it's not too late to turn to the true light, the one who loved us enough to warn us, the one who stands ready to receive all who come to him in genuine faith. Thank you for listening to this inspiring testimony of Sister Clara. If her testimony has blessed you in one way or the other, please give this video a like, so that it will be shown to so many people who need to listen to this message. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of this testimonies coming your way. Until next time, remain blessed.